Alright, okay. Woke up first thing this morning, literally saw that when I went to go play something on Steam that there was an update for this. And so we have patch number 3. This patch improves numerous Olympian boons to further enhance combat, core combat, and related choices. It also adds new UI icons, cauldron incantations, and more. Though we'll continue monitoring your feedback, we're now focusing on our first major update slated for later this year. Thank you for playing. I'm not really sure what they mean by major update because I feel like they've already changed the game a considerable bit. In terms of major update, I can't really see anything outside of you know because apparently it was said that every god from the previous game was actually going to get added, so there were actually going to be more gods. But if that's the case, I don't really know how that would work because I feel like that's a very large pool. But between that, I guess a major update would probably be actually adding the surface, like as in Zone 3, Zone 4, assuming that they're going to do it that way, since most things on the surface are just very different than, how usual underworld runs go. Alright, here we go. Let's get into it. General gameplay. Mini duo boons and legendary boons should be offered more frequently. I feel like this is probably a necessary thing, considering that part of the problem is that when you go for a boon or when you're trying to make a build and you literally have things like what you call it, when you have things in the situation where you're like, oh, I'm trying to go for Apollo's legendary, and it's like Apollo legendary to pop up, and part of this stemmed from that, but it also stemmed from the fact that people were using the one path of Oath of the Unseen to literally just get rid of boons so that it was more likely that legendary popped up since it was the only option. So I feel like this was a change that was probably made because of the slight kickback from the fact that, you know, definitely needed a better way of getting a little more consistency. Charon's gold rewards now include Nightmare after a certain point. That's an interesting choice. Mainly because, like, does this mean shop or does this mean like his delivery thing? But that's an interesting choice. It's welcome change, honestly. I don't really think that it was hard for you to get Nightmare. I feel like it might have been hard for you to get Nightmare before actually handling 32 heat with certain aspects, but I don't really think getting Nightmare was that difficult, especially with Chaos. I believe Chaos gives nightmares, so I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that was actually needed, but I don't see a problem with it. Rework gathering tool upgrades now let you find +1 elemental essence for your infusion boons. Interesting. Entering chaos while in the morning fields no longer causes you to skip a location in that region. Okay, so what this is about the fact that some people were literally skipping spots in morning fields and because of the room count. And so since you could buy the one item that would let you get chaos, they would buy that item coming out of Oceanus and literally just jump in the hole and basically skip at least one room in the morning fields and thus, get to Cerebus faster and thus have to deal with the morning fields less. Slightly increase the number of boons, the minimum number of boons, and similar rewards you can find past Erebus. I feel like, slightly increase the minimum number of boons. Yeah, like, one of the things that I've noticed about this game ad nauseum. And part of the reason why I did not like the change when they added 4 instead of 3 was literally because the adding of another god literally meant that I not only rolled a new god instead of the 3 that I want to focus on, I now have to deal with the fact that I'm rolling 4 gods and I have to roll the stuff that I want. And I feel like this game was. I don't think it's that. I don't think it's shorter than, a run of Hades 1, but it felt almost like it was shorter, and it felt almost like I did not have as many opportunities to actually get a hold of boons that I probably wanted. Warning circles and therapists now stagger foes that touch them. It's interesting. Pretty welcome change, honestly. It's okay. Witch's Staff, Cersei. We got aspect changes. Indirect damage from Omega moves now contribute to activating Serenity. I don't know what it means by indirect, but this is probably a good change, because the thing about it is that if I'm using my Omega moves before I actually have Serenity, it doesn't actually stack Serenity. And they removed this, I think, or I think they changed this. I could be wrong, but I think that they actually made it where doing Omega moves didn't get you stacks for Serenity, even though it did previously, question mark. I think it might have. But the thing about this is that if we're talking about staff, at some point I have to use my Omegas, and my Omegas not contributing to Serenity kind of makes me literally, focus on basically doing nothing but probably spamming attack or spamming special. But spamming special kind of sucks now, in my opinion. And unless you get a hammer that doubles one of the two, this can feel really bad. This whole aspect can feel really bad. So hopefully that might help it a little bit. Artemis, you are now immune to hit stun effects during post. Okay. Flames, improved Omega attack tracking, though slightly increased magic costs and reduced max damage from upgrade path. Attack sequence now continues after using it. Okay. I don't really have a comment on this one, because I don't use the flames enough normally to know exactly what that might be doing. But hearing the words slightly increased magic cost kind of makes, and slightly reduced max damage, kind of make me just say, I don't know, maybe it's broken. Persephone, now any cast damage, not just Omega cast, extends your Omega special. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Altar of Ashes, rearranged grasp costs and positions of several cards. You may need to reset your arcane loadout. Interesting. Swap the names and theming of the moon and night. Okay. Death, reworked. Omega moves have a chance to deal critical damage if the last one used was different. Alright, so this officially makes death useless. Okay, so let me give you an example. If you're using X and you're using the Omega attack spam, right? You're focusing on making an Omega attack build, okay? 9 times out of 10, you are probably never using the special Omega for any reason whatsoever, especially if you don't have the hammer that increases the startup time for it, because even though it did get better, it's still not exactly that quick. So all in all, having to use Omega special so that I can get crit on my Omega attack, or having to use Omega attack so I can get crit on my Omega special, or having to use Omega cast to get crit on either one, All of that just sounds horrid. And if it's still only like 3-4%, I don't really think it's as beneficial as it was just being your Omega attacks have crit damage. So I don't really like this death change. The moon now costs 0 grasp, but has an awakening requirement to activate any surrounding card. Okay. The unseen, improved magic restoration. The problem with the unseen is that, well, actually, that is probably the best thing they could have done for the unseen, because the issue with the unseen is that the unseen tries to basically fool you into believing that you need to take this so that you can have magic to do your Omega attacks with, when in reality you don't actually need to take the unseen. What you need to do is you need to find a good magic regen boon. And if they've now that it just crossed my mind, if they have nerfed magic regen boons to compensate for the fact that it was just better to go, like, it was better to literally go without unseen, just because of the fact that you were just essentially wasting grasp on it, when you could have just gotten a good magic regen boon. That, generally speaking, is just better. You know, the majority of the time it's just better. And you know, thing about the unseen was that it has like a grasp cost of 5, which is ridiculous. So, not really sure if that's gonna make it more appealing, but it will make it more appealing if all of the mana boons got nerfed. Or, correction, all the good mana boons got nerfed. Went looking because I was like, what exactly was the moon? The moon is the one that your Omega cast does extra damage when it detonates. So it's 0 now, but you have to activate surrounding cards. So I don't know what the layout looks like yet, but I mean, that's probably for the best, considering that I never really felt a need to take it anyway, because half the time I don't use Omega Cast, regardless of what weapon I'm doing, and if I am using Omega Cast, I probably have Apollo, and so I never really think about taking the moon, merely because of the fact that it still literally is kind of... I want to say it's not exactly that influential, but I could see somebody building around it. But at 0, I can definitely see somebody building around it a lot more now. Okay, so Divinity Awakening requirement expanded to include activating a column of cards, not just a row. That's weird and probably kind of rough. I'm not really sure. I'd have to, a lot of these card changes are probably going to be really dependent on what they change the layout to look like. Granted, you don't actually need Divinity. Origination. Oh, yikes. Now specifies that curses from different Olympians are required. This is relevant with Demeter, whose Cyclone is now is considered a curse, along with her freeze. AKA, they didn't get rid of the fact that Cyclone is a curse. They instead made it a thing that you can't get origination off of just Demeter cast Cyclone. I don't really know why you nerfed that. That was like probably the best part about Demeter, is it was the fact that if you rolled Demeter, then you could take her cast, which gives freeze, which is good status, and then you could just get the cyclone, and then every time you use cast, something was just afflicted with origination. Bingo bongo, right? It doesn't make Demeter like horrid, and it doesn't nerf her like incredibly hard. It just makes it where you know, in retrospect, it makes it more viable to take someone else's cast that does a status if Demeter's in your pool. That way, you can just get Cyclone from Demeter, and it's still basically the same thing. It's just that this change basically makes it where you have to have two different curses from two different gods instead of being able to just proc an origination because Demeter showed up. Crossroads Cauldron. Temporal fluctuation, new, lets time slow effects such as phase shift work versus you know who. Alright, let's get into why I really don't get why this was done. Well, correction. I know why it was done. And it is mainly because phase shift sucks. Like, phase shift is just because yeah, everything's slowed by like 90%. Except it's a completely useless hex that costs way too much magic that doesn't even do anything to the final boss of the game. It made sense why it didn't, but it also still, even though canonically speaking it made sense, it doesn't matter. It still made it trash. Because, yeah, you could slow down time, but I think the requirement was like 100 magic or like 120 magic, and doing all of that just to basically use it to only have like, the slow effect for like however long it is, but then to get all the way to the final boss and be able to use something and literally just get nothing for it. Wild thoughts. So I know why this happened. This happened because they're trying to make time effects more useful, despite canonically them not making sense. And I would rather canonically them not make sense than to you to add something just so that I can literally still look at phase shift and not take it. Circles of the Moon. Activating rewarding circles in Erebus fully restores your hex. Whoa. Okay, now that one's something. It doesn't actually. Okay, so like if you roll Selene first and you get like a okay AoE hex, then that's like really good for clearing and getting through rooms quickly. But at the same time, there's not really warding circles in the Hecate fight. And so, the Hecate fight, so Hecate will literally just still be the same overall. And then past Erebus, this is useless. But, I mean, hey, it's an interesting thing. It's probably kind of story-based, so, it's alright. I'm not saying it's like, ooh, look at this change, it's so good. But I'm also not saying it's, pointless. Or very weird, like another. What we got here? Ashen Memories of Life. Whenever you claim rewards of Ash, slightly raise your health limit. That's pretty good. That's stuff that's Hades 1 stuff. Because I remember there was like a thing that every time you took, I can't remember which reward it was. Every time you took that reward, though, you got like +5 life. So that's kind of like a Hades 1 thing. Sonic Silvers, basically the same thing except for magic and for Psyche. Bones of the Varnished Bronze, same thing except you get armor. These are pretty interesting incantations. definitely like this whole thing. Yeah, this is all. This is literally all the Hades one stuff from the mirror, or it might have been the mirror, might have been something else, but it's basically all the Hades one stuff from before that gave you the benefits of the one thing. Or it might not have been mirror, it might have been somebody's boon. But either way, perfectly fine change. These are cool. Like all of these are fine. This one is questionable, and this one is kind of just pointless because unless you change this in some way, it's still shit. Keepsakes, White Antler, Artemis, reworked now provides critical bonus for one region, but reduces life limit. That's an interesting choice. If it's the same amount of critical damage, but reduces your life limit, then it's kind of just broke. Like, yeah, it does it for one region, but even then, like, you just get to Kronos and pop this on, and suddenly you've got like, I think it was 30. You got like 30+% damage, which is crazy, or 30% crit chance, which is still crazy. Well, I believe it was like 30. Whatever it was. Silk and Sash, Arachne, you can no longer lose your armor from this if you switch to a different keepsake. Okay. Moonbeam now also causes Selene or a Path of Stars to be offered soon. Okay. I mean, that's cool, but unless you changed hexes still suck. Olympian keepsakes are now even more likely to make their respective Olympians boons appear. Okay? Alright. Let's get into it. Jesus Christ. Woo! Alright. From the top. This is attack. Increased damage, increased bonus from Palmer's power. Same thing for special. Storm Ring now deals damage from all casts, not just Omega. Okay. Ionic Gain. Mana Boon. Rework now spawns an ether font nearby that fully restores magic when used. Huh? Like, huh? Am I missing something? This is like a new thing, right? This isn't like a thing that's already like in the game. Okay, I don't think this is a thing that's already in the game. So my interpretation of what this means is it spawns like a totem, and when you use magic near the totem, it'll restore your magic completely. Which, wouldn't that basically just mean that it's an infinite? You have infinite magic? On top of that, like, can I move it? How do I summon it? Does it just pop in the room when I walk in the room? If it's in like a bad place during a boss fight, it seems kind of useless. I'm not really sure how to interpret this. So I'm just going to interpret it the way that I'm perceiving it, which is it's some kind of like totem. And if you use magic near the totem, it gives you mana, which basically means that as long as you're near the totem, you technically have infinite mana. Or you technically have infinite magic. But I believe the totem can't be moved and will just automatically spawn in the room regardless, somewhere random. And that kind of just makes me, very, it just seems very questionable. Sprint, increased palm power bonus, double strike, increased effect chance, bonus for palms, renamed from second strike. Okay. Shocking loss, increased effect chance now activates when foes first take damage. Not really sure what shocking strike was. Let me see if I can't find it. Zeus. Oh no, Spirit Surge is the while you have no more than 10 magic, all foes are occasionally struck by lightning. And so they increase the palm power for that. But that's kind of whack. I mean, it didn't really do anything. Um, do, 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 do. I am not seeing shocking loss. Maybe I'm blind. Oh, that's his legendary. Increase the effect chance. Now activates when foes first take damage. Most foes may be instantly destroyed as soon as you enter the encounter. So I have to do damage and then it activates? Which means that I basically have to come in the room, hit an enemy, and then it'll just kill everything in the room. I suppose. Never really seen too much of it. So, Glorious Disaster, which I think I recall being pretty dumb. Yeah, you can channel plus 30 magic into your Omega cast to repeatedly strike foes with lightning bolts. Yeah, I recall it being pretty dumb. Reduce damage, fixed magic, not deducting correctly. Interesting. Zeus Demeter, cut from the game, replaced with, oh wow. What was that was your Blitzflex lasts longer and activate against all Blitz afflicted foes at once. Okay. That was placed with Hailstorm. Your freeze effects also cause lightning bolts to strike afflicted foes. That's not that bad. I mean, that's not that bad of a trade. Master Conductor, which originally was your chain lightning, deals more damage per bounce and can bounce to you. Increase the damage on it. Okay. Hera, slaying a foe, can afflict them with the hit curse and spread that damage accordingly. Attack special, buff their bonus for power. Engagement ring now also inflicts hits when dealing damage. Sorry. Though reduced direct damage to compensate, no longer increases cast duration. Okay. Next is Sprint. Now deals damage and inflicts hits on unafflicted foes. Born Gain, another magic boon. Increased prime magic cost. I don't think that's a big enough nerf to change the fact Born Gain is the best magic boon in the game. Keen Intuition, cut from the game. Keen Intuition, I vaguely remember what it was, but let me get it exactly. Whenever you use Omega moves while you have 100% magic, they deal more damage. Yeah, okay. So, a really good boon. It was cut from the game and replaced with Bloodline. Your Omega moves also create a damaging rift for an added magic cost. Okay, so I believe, according to the thing I'm looking at, this was a 30% damage increase, which is a lot at common. And at epic, it's like 60. So I don't really know how much damage this rift will do, but it's got to do a lot, honestly. Burial Glow. Boons that are already heroic can no longer be chosen for this. Or Bridal Glow. Bridal Glow was your boons become heroic, then lose rarity every 6 to 7 encounters. Okay. Soulmate, cut from the game. That was originally foes with Hitch take more damage and are weak, but only 2 can be afflicted at the same time. So you can put Hitch and weak on something and they take more damage because of it, but you can only do it to 2 different enemies. So that was cut from the game and replaced with Static Obsession. One foe always has charm. Formerly Aphrodite's legendary. Okay. Cherished Heirloom. Increased power level when upgrading max rank keepsakes. What is this? Most other keepsakes you equipped are stronger this night, if possible. So, okay. Funeral Pyre was her and Hestia. While you channel your Omega moves, repeatedly inflict Scorch on nearby foes. Okay. Oh, got it from the game. Elemental Particles. Gain +1 each elemental essence and an infusion boon for it. I'm not really sure what this. Okay, so the way I'm perceiving what I'm reading is that it gives you +1 in all of the elements, but it also says and an infusion boon for it, which means I'm assuming you just get 4 random infusion boons, which seems like a lot. And also kind of straight busted, even for like a duo. Because it's like, if it's random, if it's like really random, because there's only 2 gods here, if it's really random, you could run into things like, I think the Apollo one that's like, while you have like 30% HP, you like take less damage, or you deal more damage. Hold on. Let me. Oh no, it's while you take that, and whenever you take damage, you restore some life. When you have stuff like that, when you have stuff like Poseidon's gain max life, which was a lot of max life. Yeah, Demeter's thing, which says you can't take damage more than the limit per hit. You know, there's like actually a good amount of infusion boons out there that would just easily make someone kind of stupid. So I'm not really sure why that's the change that happened. But hey, you know, era Hestia. Poseidon, Priest Palms on attack, title ring. New, your casts also immediately hit foes in front of you with a splash. Interesting. Geyser Spout, now a second tier cast boon, renamed from Geyser Ring. I was saying, so you have title ring now, and then you can upgrade it to Geyser Ring. Okay. I don't really like this because it's like basically saying Your casts immediately hit foes in front of you with splash. I'm not sure if that means I fire like a water ball or if they're like just I press cast and it just sends out a cone of damage towards whatever enemy is closest to me at the moment. Which isn't terrible, especially if it has knockback. Definitely not the worst thing. So, I'll take it. Crashing wave, cut from the game. That's depressing. Well, actually, not that depressing because you don't really have as much support as you did in Hades 1 for it. Replaced with Splash Fount. Merged with Sunken Treasure, which was removed as a standalone boon. Oh, I'm reading the wrong one. Your Omega moves also create a watery blast near the first damaged foe. It's something. I wouldn't call it, amazing yet, but it's something. Ocean's Bounty got merged with Sunken Treasure, which was removed as a standalone boon. Water Finesse effect now scales with each water essence. Water Finesse. That's the infusion. Okay, cool. Again, this goes back to what I said. You get like four water. You pick up that thing and it gives you another water. Now you have 5. Not only do you get more HP, but you now can literally just use it. Or basically you can mid-max it by getting as much water as possible. Which would only give you more HP. King Tide increased size bonus and damage bonus, which I believe is a legendary. Your splash effects from Poseidon are larger and deal bonus damage to Guardians. I'm not really sure why this got changed. Because this was part of the reason why staff special spam was so good. Because they would just, get handed something. You'd get handed King Tide, and then you would look, and then you would just spam triangle and watch as their health bar gets deleted because it does bonus damage to Guardians. Now you're telling me that you increase the bonus damage and you increase the size of the splash, which just seems kind of a bit much. But hey, Poseidon technically got nerfed, or technically got buffed. Beach Ball, which is him and Apollo. Your sprint creates a watery sphere behind you. After you stop, it surges ahead and bursts. Increased size bonus and damage bonus. Or, increased damage. My bad. There we go again. I'm reading different lines. Natural selection, which I believe, location rewards exclude max health, max magic, and gold crowns. Boons are more likely to be rare or better. Increased chance of improved rarity. Scalding Vapor, which is one of the best duos for Poseidon, just got a buff and increased damage. Poseidon is it's coming out of this pretty hot, considering that he's not been, he's never been, ooh, guys, Poseidon. He's just always been, yeah, Poseidon. He was good on Sword in Hades 1, so, that was something. But still not, the best build for Sword in Hades 1. Apollo. Attack. Bonuses from Palm. Solar Ring. Now inflicts daze and deals burst damage. That is a fantastic change. Apollo got buffed. Solar Ring is cool. And losing Solar Ring does, bring a tear to my eye. Oh, wait. Prominence Flare is now second tier cast boon. Okay, so Someone on the design team apparently thought that it was a good idea to have these second tier boons instead of focusing on just having the casts. And so now everybody's getting random second tier cast boons. So you can still run your solar ring, laser beam, orbital laser builds, but now they have days, which is just really good. Really good move for Apollo. Helps with making origination. Because if you don't, because it's really hard to pick between getting the solar ring and getting the thing that actually gives your attacks days. Nice buff. Lucid Gain, another one of the good mana boons. Reworked, now restores magic if you are standing in your cast when they expire. That is very specific and almost makes it not worth it. Because instead of it being while you're in cast, restore mana or restore magic, is now basically if you're standing in it when it's gone, you get magic back. Which basically just sounds like, the equivalent of, it sounds like the equivalent of basically taking away the idea of, ooh, look at this. You can get this as long as you're here. And instead changing it to, as long as you're here when it goes away, then you get your magic back. I don't think that's it, Chief. We definitely have a nerf coming in here. Perfect image reworked. Damage bonus now resets if you avoid taking damage for a short duration. That's pretty good, honestly. Torrential Downpour, which was Apollo and Demeter's, moved from the game. This was each time you use your Omega cast in an encounter, it gets stronger, but uses +5 magic. I could see someone trying to do this, and then literally they have I could see beforehand. I could see someone trying to do this, making a build around this duo, and then literally, they try to use casts, and half their magic bar just gets destroyed, but they do like a crap ton of damage. So I don't really know if that's necessarily what was happening, but it was cut and replaced with Boral Gust. While standing in cyclones, you randomly fire damaging goals. But why? And why random? Why did you replace? That's a weird way to replace something. Because now you just don't even. It's not even like this close to the same thing. Whatever. I don't really know if I should say, ooh yeah, that's so good, because it just seems kind of weird and inaccurate. Stellar Slam, which was Apollo and Festus, which was your blast effects from Festus, deal damage in a larger area. It's been replaced. It now has Rude Awakening. Festus blasts clear days and deal more damage. Well, Apollo was good, but it was just him. But now these duos sound a little rough. Partially because, okay, you get rid of days, right? Festus gets rid of days. So you're hitting something and it's missing you because it has days. But then your swing procs Festus's attack, which then causes an eruption or explosion. And then that explosion clears days off of them. So now you have to reapply it, which seems bad. Not to mention that in the grand scheme of things, you know, it's not like you can reset the cooldown of it. I can see how this could get broken with what I'm about to say. So if you could like clear days and that would reduce the cooldown of the next explosion, you could easily reapply days and then turn this into a days explosion, days explosion, days explosion board. But that's not what this does. This just literally clears days and then does damage. And also makes it where enemies will now just hit you because they're not dazed anymore. I'm not a fan. Tranquil Gain, another magic boon, now restores magic based on a percentage of your current total. That's pretty good change. That makes Tranquil Gain an even better, or basically a more consistent boon that doesn't require you to stand still in order to get magic back. So I'll take that. That's pretty cool. Gale Force, your cast Cyclone now can follow you if you also have local climate. Huh. That's pretty interesting. Frosty Veneer now scales with water essence rather than earth, renamed for Coarse Grit. Okay, that's probably appropriate. I wasn't really sure why Demeter had 6 earth. Because I'm not mistaken, I believe most of her boons are water-based. So, not really sure why she had earth on her infusion instead of water. Which, you know, her infusion is the one that, of course, reduces the amount of damage you take because you can't take more than the limit. Freezer Burn. Her and Hestia. Reworked. Inflicting freeze on foe with Scorch deals damage and removes Scorch. Alright, so I just realized this, reading this, and what I'm getting out of this is some of these duos are now just making it harder to hold origination. If you get what I'm saying. Like removing days means that you remove days, vent pops up. And depending on how this game and its engine does the damage calculation, there's either a moment where the vent can help make it where origination will increase the damage of the explosion. And then days will go away. Or days goes away, vent comes in, damage. Which basically means you don't benefit off of origination with Hephaestus and Apollo's duo boom. Same thing here. If Scorch goes away, then damage. If Scorch goes away, then freeze, then damage, you don't get origination. So I don't know why things are getting changed like this. I'm not sure what the goal of basically nerfing origination is when you've already, nerfed it enough by nerfing Demeter. So I don't know. I don't know. But moving on. Aphrodite. Increased depth power and duration of her weak curse. Okay. Ring now deals damage as it drags foes in. Okay. Passion Dash reworked. Now deals damage when you press dash and again when you stop pressing dash. Okay. Renamed to Passion Dash or Passion Rush. Glamour Gain now makes all nearby foes weak rather than one randomly. That's a pretty good change because that's actually surprisingly enough, not mistaken, that is actually a buff to Aphrodite's mana boon, considering that most people were just kind of like, yeah, it's cool if you actually plan on standing beside the thing that ends up being cursed. So that's one thing. But doing all nearby enemies, I'm not sure if that just applies when they get close to you, or if it's just like kind of a general thing. And that's pretty good because it still allows you to get the week off, which gives you at least one curse, which is hot stuff. Shameless attitude reworked. The damage bonus doubles if you haven't lost much HP. You see, I don't really know how to feel about this one because what is this shameless attitude? While you have at least 80% HP, deal more damage. And so now, instead, it was reworked where the damage bonus doubles if you haven't lost much HP. I don't know if that means that you now don't do damage if you have less HP, or if it just basically is, both. You can be on your, you can do whatever you want and keep your HP high and do more damage, or if she doesn't, or, if it doesn't work out the way you thought, or correction, now it's or correction, and then if you haven't lost HP, you double it, or it's just the double. My thing is, I'm not really sure if it's still on a requirement of if your HP is high, you do more damage, and you get the benefit of doing double that because you haven't lost as much. I don't really know. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure about that. Wispy Walls effect now scales with each air's essence. Wispy Walls, I believe, was the one that said something about dodging, maybe? I think? I can't remember. I'm trying not to pay attention to infusion rooms. Yeah, you may dodge any damage. Heartthrob from Aphrodite now spawns behind Melanoid, now no longer detonates on objects. Various wreck, a nervous wreck. New legendary. Inflicting weak inflicts other random curses. That's pretty good. Soft Caress, Aphrodite and Festus cut from the game, which introduces love handles. Aphrodite and Hestus blasts also create heartthrobs. That's pretty good. Burning Desire, Aphrodite and Hestia cut from the game. Hot Flash, New Scorch does not diminish as deals damage to weak foes. What were these originally? Up to plus 12 lone shades appear in locations. Sprint into them. Okay, so bad. Alright. Or just, like, most uninteresting ever. Festus, improved activation speed of Vent Cursed. Okay. Special improved blast recharge time. Okay. Elden Ring. No longer reduces cast size. Okay. Fine tuning slightly increased damage to upgraded aspects. Wow, weird flex, but okay. So, yeah, thinking about it, that's okay. Tough Trade, which was originally, if you take damage during your attacks or special, they are stronger if they hit. Cut from the game. Instead, we got Grand Rank Daria. Festus blasts become even bigger and stronger. That's not a fitting replacement. That is not a fitting replacement at all. Chain reaction. Festus and Hestia timing to activate the multi blast effect. Now less restrictive. Was it originally? If you use your blast effect from Festus just after they recharge, they will fire. They fire 2 times. Ooh. I don't know about any of that. I feel like Festus is still bad. Hestia increased damage rate of Scorch. Okay. Uh, Flame attack. Damage on Scorch increased. Special bonuses increased. Spring. Control burn. Glowing coal. Hearth gain. Another mana boon. Rework. Now restores mana when you hit with your attack and special. That's busted. Like, that's honestly broken. I don't know why they did that. Misty already had a good mana boon, so you didn't need to do that. So, like, I don't really understand the legendary boon here. Like, Pyro Technique, no longer a legendary boon, now scales with rarity and Palm's power, which I believe is the one where I think it makes it burn faster. Fire Extinguisher, heard from the game, replaced with highly flammable, inflicting scorch on a foe for the first time, inflicts more damage, which I don't think is even close to what it was before. Let me double check. Yeah, before it was if something got 300 scorch on it and it took burst damage and it exhausted the effect, which is interesting. Change. Spontaneous combustion, which was your mega special, afflicts bonus scorch if foes are unafflicted, is now replaced with the new legendary. You take minimal fire damage and leave flames when you sprint. Why though? I don't really like that part. I don't like the whole "ooh, I take fire damage." Like, but why? Why do I take fire damage? Why? Why would I want to do that? Like, you know how much you sprint in this game? Why would I want to do that? Why would I want basically me taking minimal fire damage quotations of being the reason why the next time Cronus or Eris hits me, I die? Like, I don't really understand why that has to be there. Swift Strike, Hermes, which was faster attack, cut from the game, replaced with Nimble Limbs. Your attack, special, cast, and are all faster. Swift Flourish, which is the specials are faster, is now being replaced with Nimble Mind. Your Omega moves are faster. I think all around this is probably a good change because, you know, getting faster Omega moves is probably an actual, like, it is a definitive choice from just having things be faster. And this way, it makes Hermes a more versatile option. So that way you don't have to worry about, oh, I didn't get the faster special on this one, or I didn't get the faster attack, and I really wanted that. So overall, I feel like this is probably a pretty good change. Everything, Silver Streak, Artemis, buff, easy shot, buff, first blood, increased crit chance, lethal snare, increased crit chance. So Artemis boons just got buffed. Like, they just got straight buffed. And that's all. Uh, that was pretty lengthy. Just to go back, summarize, point out specific things. I don't know how this works. I'm very curious about how this works and how it performs. Because if this just does something like summons a totem, then I mean, I'm not really sure how consistent that is and how good it'll actually turn out to be. My take on how the legendary worked was that when you entered an encounter, sometimes things of a certain, like, however they distinguished it, sometimes enemies just died, and that was basically how this worked, and from what I believed was the case. This kind of denotes that it didn't, or that it now works as if sometimes I hit something and it just dies. Which is a lot, honestly. But overall, Zeus changes were pretty low key, honestly. I mean, this fixed magic not reducting correctly. This was something, changing their duo into that is interesting. This doesn't do anything to make me feel good about Hephaestus being in my pool. Hera, kind of the same boat. They didn't nerf Born Gain enough for it to be horrible. They seem to have made it where a lot of other things can get Hitch, which makes Hitch a better curse overall. So overall, good buff. Replacing Keen Intuition with Bloodline will have to be something to be seen to actually know if it is beneficial rather than just being kind of, a bad trade-off. A bad trade. Because, we traded increased Omega damage for hopefully just better damage in general. This Aphrodite duo change probably going to be really big when you combine it with the other Aphrodite stuff that got changed for weak in general. Poseidon just got nerfed all the way around. Poseidon literally is just, better in general. He kind of lost nothing. I mean, Sunken Treasure is now part of Ocean's Bounty, which literally removes Sunken Treasure in general, which, again, just makes his pool better. So, again, Poseidon just got buffed all around. Apollo came out pretty good. Solar Ring now gives days. And you can eventually get Prominence Flare, which will give you your orbital cannon back on top of dazing, on top of doing burst damage, on top of, all the good stuff. Lucid Gain got nerfed, though, in my opinion, because, I believe it was while you were standing in your cast, you get magic regen, but now you only get magic if you stand in it when it expires, which kind of seems a little bad. Perfect Image getting changed to where it resets if you don't take damage. Perfect. Amazing. His new duo with Demeter could be pretty good. Festus is shit. Demeter getting changed to where it's based off a percentage of your current magic is actually pretty good. I would think. I think it's more consistent than standing still. So I think it's probably something that would need to be seen as well. Gale Force, now if you have local climate, it will actually follow you, which is a pretty interesting change. I kind of like it. It's pretty interesting. Frosty Veneer is the new name for Horse Grit, and it now is off of Water Essence instead of Earth Essence, which I feel like is a better change. Um, Freezer Burn removing Scorch is just kind of like Hephaestus' thing removing Daze. It's kind of just really weird and makes getting your origination procs kind of inconsistent. Aphrodite, no, basically weak, got buffed a lot and got a lot of things. Aphrodite, on the other hand, kind of just stayed a little bit of the same. You know, combining Nervous Wreck with Glamour Gain is probably a good combination going forward, because Weak is just really strong at the current moment. Hephaestus Blast making Heartthrobs is interesting. Might get you somewhere, but you know, we'll see. Does not diminish as you deal damage to weak foes. That Hot Flash also probably going to be a really good addition. So overall, Aphrodite came out real good. Hephaestus did not get anything he needed unless these damage numbers are really big. So still quite mid. Hestia, change to a mana boon may or may not be for the better, but at least it doesn't get rid of your HP anymore, which is definitely a plus. Her new legendary, however, leaves some to be desired in my mind. In theory, Hermes just straight buffed. Artemis straight buffed. That's that. All right, now for the rest of the stuff. Daedalus Hammer upgrades. Executioner's Chop Axe no longer prevents you from striking if you have insufficient magic. Okay, that's good. Possessed Ray. Blast on Retrieval effect now automatically uses some magic. Ooh, that's a big nerf. I don't know why that has a megaphone and that doesn't. Because if you've ever seen that build's crazy. Because SRA is really good. And the fact that it didn't use mana or didn't use magic made it even better. Alright. So, big thing. Like I said, you want me to use this, so we're going to see what you did that might coerce me into thinking that hexes aren't as shit as they still were after the last patch. Reduced magic spin requirement. Okay, we needed that because it was fucking ridiculous. Slightly reduced effect duration. Fixed text incorrectly stating this duration. So you're telling me that the duration that was listed was wrong, but it still was doing the duration that was intended. So in general, it always just did less. Now works versus you know who after a certain point when you do the appropriate incantation to, I guess, influence that. This is not enough. This is especially if that magic requirement is still too high. That's not enough. Because you gotta hold on. Let me look. Let me just get it in front of me. Because some people put her, pretty highly in regard, when in reality, it's not like that. Alright, I have it in front of me. Alright, Total Eclipse greatly reduced magic spin requirement. Needed to happen because it was fucking ridiculous. Dark Side increased ability damage, slightly reduced magic spin requirement. Needed to happen because you nerfed it too hard on the last patch, and I don't really know why you nerfed it in the first place. Lunar Ray greatly reduced magic spin requirement. Needed to happen. Improved targeting using keypad controls. Cool. Moonwater slightly reduced magic requirement. Needed, cool. As part of these changes, you can no longer recharge hexes while their effects are still ongoing. That's a weird change, but basically it means that, if a hex is happening, you can't spend magic to recharge it while it's still active. saying it out loud now makes me realize how shit that is. Because essentially that means that if I'm using X and I use phase shift, I now can't charge phase shift for all of these Omega attacks I'm about to do. That's still stupid. And we're talking about things like you just go down the list. Like, hold on, Path Stars growth, Dark Side, new, makes your hex fast. No one cares. No one cares about it passively charging. Preparation, Total Eclipse, now. Start encounters with your hex partially charged. Again, nobody cares. That's not the reason they're bad. Extinction, Twilight Curse, reduced effectiveness. And then you just nerfed one. Upgrades of Sublime quality now also raise your Hex's recharge costs to compensate for many recharge costs having been reduced. Hexes should now be more usable throughout each night. Ooh, I had to take a moment there because I'm just trying to collect all of my thoughts about how terrible that just sounded. Let me just go down the list for you. Lunar Ray, fires beam, takes 3 seconds, makes you stand still, cost 120 magic originally. Moonwater, the GOAT. Night Bloom, summons one enemy that you've already slain. No one cares. It costs 100 magic. Phase Shift, costs like 150. Literally only 5 seconds, but apparently it was less. And was supposed to be less. No one cares. Twilight Curse, morphed 10 subjectable foes for 140 originally. No one cares. Wolf Howl does crap damage, jumps you in the air, doesn't really do anything, cost 80 originally. No one cares. Dark Side made you impervious, gave you 5 seconds to literally just do a bunch of crap. Basically, Double Trigger Malloy came out. A millennium. And so, and then Total Eclipse does 1,000 damage after 4 seconds, which means the thing has to still be standing there, and originally cost 200 magic. What needed to happen was that all of these needed to have reduced costs, because the fact that originally Moonwater only had like a 70 cost was the part of the reason why Moonwater was so good. The other part of the reason was it was a heal. It was a heal, and then eventually you can make it restore magic too. And sometimes you can make, I think you could also make it give you gold. It was just literally all around the best option. The second best option was Dark Side, because it was also pretty low in terms of requirement, and make you impervious, and gave you a form where you could do all of these things. And eventually, if you went down the path of stars enough, you could make it a pretty dumb looking build because of it. So, problem 1. All the other ones cost too fucking much. Problem 2. I do not want to stand still. I never want to stand still. Why would I want to stand still during Chronos? It literally just makes Lunar Beam bad. Total Eclipse. Also, same thing. Chronos literally ports. Eris literally flies around all the time. And she's not even supposed to be like the final boss of the surface. I probably am missing Total Eclipse more than I'm actually hitting it. Unless I literally choose to do it for very specific attacks and take the time out to literally try to adjust for that. And even then, I will still end up doing more damage just doing my moves than I will probably, like, it's only 1,000. That's nothing. That's honestly nothing compared to what you could produce with just the stuff, yeah. So, to no surprise, hexes still suck. I don't care about phase. Lunar Ray, don't care. Night Bloom, don't care. Phase shift, you can make it work on Chronos all you want. If it only lasts like 3 seconds, it's pointless. And then the more I take Selene and go down the path of stars, the harder it's gonna be for me to do my hex again. As if you are ignoring the problem with hexes. Hexes need to be as good as calls. Like, off the top of my head, I cannot think of too many calls in Hades 1 that were that bad. That they didn't just feel like, oh yeah, we'll just take call. Because, we don't have one. And we might as well use one. So, I don't get why hexes are just continue to be shit. Whale of Charon, Breath of Eros, new, similar to the now cut soft caress from the duo of Aphrodite and Hephaestus. This causes the next instance of damage you would take to instead restore that much life. Pretty cool. Foes encounters Cerberus, various adjustments to better align how scary he is with how scary he looks. Yeah, okay, I don't know what that means. It's pretty vague. Charybdis, improved visibility in this encounter. Hippo, the things that explode in Oceanus, reduced how long they tend to retreat after attacking. Yeah. Okay, so they got kind of buffed a little bit, basically. Harpy Talon, which I'm assuming the thing is the harpies and the wrist of Thessaly. Reduced frequency of wind vortex attack. That's pretty good. That's a nerf, and that's kind of welcome because sometimes I just spammed the screen with them, and you were just taking all kinds of damage. Hercules, reduced average number of foes you'll face in this encounter. That's pretty good because I felt like that was too fucking many. Reduced average number of foes you'll face in this encounter for Icarus, which is also another thing that definitely felt like it was drawn out a little bit too long. You can now use Change of Fate to alter the reward versus Charybdis in the fate of in the Rift of Thessaly. That's interesting. A certain location in Tartarus no longer automatically fires a trap at Milanoy as soon as she enters, which I don't really know what that's necessarily referring to, but okay, cool. Good thing that's a thing now. Faded list of minor prophecies, updated some prophecy fulfillment requirements based on the above changes to boons. Oath of the Unseen, Vow of Panic, reduced penalty to magic at the start of encounters. Menus and UI, added UI icons for boons of Artemis, and UI icons for blessings and curses of chaos. For the gifts of Narcissus, blessings of Echo, boons of Hades, curses of Medea, enchantments of Circe, and offerings of Icarus. Added icons for effects such as Great Thirst, Chthonic Fate, and Special Order. Added borders to upgrade icons on the Path of Stars screen. Damage preview from Hestia's Scorch Curse now appears on Guardian Life bars. In the past deed screen, cleared Chaos Trials no longer appear as failures. Improved legibility of damage numbers on the victory screen that shows when you prevail. Clarified when clear conditions for certain fated list prophecies are listed on more than one page. You can now press escape to exit the map while using the bats. Cool. Updated current content of Grasp upgrade tutorial in the Altar of Ashes in cases where it repeats. Ugh. Took me a lot to say that. Okay, that seems more like it's an update, not really a bug fix. But yeah, this is all good and dandy. Art and visual effects, new visuals for Solar Ring, because Solar Ring now is an additional thing, and that the original Solar Ring is now Prominence Flare. Music and special effects, added sound effects for when the benefit from mint condition Festus is about to expire. Interesting. Miscellaneous improved performance and the risk of disability on systems close to the minimum system requirement. All timers now pause when using the bats. That's a great quality of life change. Very welcome. Improved visibility of visual effects when Demeter is spurned in the Trial of the Gods encounters. Adjusted names of several boons. Made some optimizations to save files. And a bunch of bug fixes. You love to see it. Because, that means that they're looking at the game, they're listening, people are reporting bugs, and bugs are getting fixed. Overall, I feel like this patch was, this was definitely going to be a heavy God boon level patch, and that's definitely what it was. I mean, as for these general changes, so glad that this is a thing. Hopefully it makes it a little more consistent than before. This is an interesting change for Erebus, but it doesn't really matter going forward because, can't really. I mean, you kind of can't use it after Erebus, so it seems like just a, ooh, this can help me in this situation and help me, get out of Erebus. Aspect changes. We'll see if this makes Cersei better. This kind of needed to happen. And, this was a change. Overall, not that great. The new arrangement of Arcana cards is definitely something to be seen. Not really sure how it will affect choices going forward, but the Unseen is still something that I feel, unless it's a significant change, it costing 5 grasp is still a lot. New incantations, keepsake changes, pretty good. As far as I think, honestly, boons and blessings all around. Basically, Zeus got some change, Hera got some change, Hitch is now a little better, Poseidon got straight buffed, Apollo kind of got straight buffed, but not as much as Poseidon. Demeter got nerfed a little bit. Weak got buffed as well as Aphrodite, and Hestia kind of got buffed as well. A little bit of changes here and there, though. Definitely not as buffed as Aphrodite. Hermes and Artemis got buffed. And to end us all off, if the question was, are hexes better? No, they are still shit. Moonwater, Darkside, still honestly the only two worth piss. Maybe the phase shift is low enough where I care, but at the same time, now we have the added thing of your hexes costing more as you upgrade them, which doesn't really make it easier to use them throughout each night. So yeah, hexes still suck.